And that it's Wednesday. Unbelievable. Halfway through the week. How the hell did that happen? Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I'm Russ Kane. This is The Daily Show, and you're listening to Men's Radio Station. Wednesday, of course, means that we have our fabuloso legal expert. Isn't it amazing how your mind can suddenly go blank? You're thinking, I'm suddenly thinking, oh no, my mind went blank. Hatti Suvari, our legal expert. She's got a fantastic subject this week. It's proved very, very popular. Right. No idea where Neil Long is. I've had to get rid of him. He's subpar. Let's not kid ourselves. He's subpar. Right. Now, let us introduce our first guest of Wednesday. Shall we do that? Shall we? Shall we do that? I think we shall. Hello, Abigail.
Hello. Very well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolute pleasure. Have we not met before? I thought we had.
I think we might have done.
I think we have, because I know that Age UK is something that at my age, Age UK is something very close to our heart and everything like that. Anyway, let me introduce you to the late Neil Long. There he is. Hello, Neil. Looking, he looks more like Deputy Dog. Just sitting there, this little hangdog expression. Doesn't look happy today. Doesn't look happy at all. Right, Abigail, tell us all about yourself and why you is here.
So I'm CEO of Age UK London, and we've just launched some research about how older Londoners use the internet.
Right.
We know that more and more people over 60 have been using the internet recently, and Age UK London and Community Fibre wanted to find out a bit more about what sort of experience were they having. Is it adding to their life? Is it a good thing? Is it going badly? And broadly, we found out that it is improving the quality of life of most people over the age of 60 who use it. 80% said it added to their quality of life. We also found out that there are some problems, and in particular, 1 in 5 over 60s who use the internet told us that they've been scammed.
Wow.
And just under half of over 60s who use the internet told us that they are contacted by scammers at least once a week.
Oh yeah,
so totally. It's a real.
And they're all over the place at the moment. Hello, Abigail.
Hello. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think this is probably something that an awful lot of your viewers, it's not just something for over 60s. It's something that everyone's
every age, isn't it? It's absolutely every age. It is disgusting.
I guess scammers
I wish they could do more about it. Do you have any solutions or steps to take?
So the main thing that we want to do, we want to raise awareness of it, because we also picked up through our survey that quite a lot of people, particularly those who have been victims of the scam, they're feeling embarrassed. They're perhaps feeling that it's somehow their fault in some way, which that isn't the case at all. These scammers are very sophisticated and putting a huge amount of time into it. So we want people to know that they're not alone if that's happened to them. It's not their fault. But we also want everyone to know that there is a lot of information out there about how to spot a scam, and also more generally how to use the internet confidently. So Age UK is right across London. A lot of them run brilliant digital skills services and can help you feel confident doing something on the internet perhaps that you might not have done before, or using a new device. Community Fibre have their digital ambassadors who also provide support in the community. And we're just generally raising awareness of the things that might be a sign that something on the internet is a little bit awry.
Did you say internet? What were they, ambassadors? No, that wasn't the phrase. What did you use?
Ambassadors, yes.
Oh, it was ambassador. What are they? Who?
So they offer support to people based in the community, and basically help people with various things that they want to do on the internet. That someone might say, I've heard that I can, using a site like Facebook, I can share pictures and I can stay in touch with my friends. Or there might be someone who says, I'd really like to know how to do my shopping online. That would be really convenient for me if I could have it delivered. So they can do bits and pieces like that. And equally, Local Age UK's run brilliant similar services to that.
Tell me something. Are people? I was under the impression people were much more internet savvy than perhaps you've just alluded to. What do you think?
So there's a real range. I mean, you can't generalise about everyone over the age of 60, to be honest. That's the main thing, different lives.
Can I just clarify something?
Yes.
It's Age UK. To my mind, that's like 80 plus, right? Are you saying it's 60 plus?
So the research that we did is 60 plus, and there are some Age UK services that are available for people over the age of 50. So quite a broad range.
Teenagers.
That we
Abigail, teenagers, kids, 50s.
Exactly. But yeah, as I was saying, there's a real range of different experiences. So there are over 60s in London who are absolute tech experts and, at the cutting edge of this and probably developing new systems and, those systems absolutely backwards. And
do you think the scammers, Abigail, think that people over 60 might be an easier mark?
Good question.
Potentially. I think probably most scammers just spread their scam out as widely as they possibly can.
Well, this has been my experience. I've got a little hobby. I like to play with them and tease them a little bit. On my Facebook wall, there's one fairly recently actually on Neil Longie Long. It's where a scammer gets owned by me, but I knew they were a scammer straight away. What scams are the people falling for the most? What should they be most watchful for? Can you give us a couple of red flags?
So we can't really say kind of this scam is the one to look out for because they're just changing all the time. And as soon as you get word out,
go in. I'm sorry to jump in, but they do go in groups. I mean, one thing I think we all should be very aware of, and Neil and I cover this a lot, Abigail. This is not, my name is Prince Obobo, and I live in Christ knows where in Africa or something, and I've been left £300 million, Neil, and all you got to do is give me £100 and I can, all that garbage. I mean, it's not that. These are very sophisticated scams that look 100% genuine. We covered, and I don't know what your experience is, Abigail, but for example, someone sent you a parcel, there wasn't enough postage, if you could just give us £1. I nearly went for that one because I was expecting something in the mail.
I've had that one as well, and I nearly fell for it too.
Yeah, because it looks absolutely bona fide. The post office logo and everything like that. So yeah, what ones are you finding that are catching people out?
So it's more the telltale signs rather than the one that says you've got a parcel that didn't have enough postage put on it, or we need to reset your internet banking security. Really, we'd flag up the signs, and sometimes they can be very hard to tell. But one could be someone asking for personal data, so asking for your username, for your password, for particular information. That's often a sign.
The one I had was just this random text. Hi, Mum. It's me. Can you call me as soon as possible?
I got that last week.
So I, as I say, I like to play with them a little bit. So I replied back, "Hello, sweetheart. What's the problem?" I had to change my phone, and I've got this overdue bill, and the bank won't pay because my phone number's changed. So can you pay the bill? Promise I'll pay you back. And then I own them beautifully. I'll put the link if you want to see that. But you could be fooled by it. The scammers generally use fear. They're trying to get you to take immediate action to discombobulate you, so you can't think your money's in danger. Something bad's going to happen. Act. Do it fast. Do anything.
Or we're going to blackmail you. Or the blackmail one as well.
Yeah, I think absolutely right. The time pressure is a real giveaway. Your bank or your water company or anything like that will never make you make a decision quickly. If someone is putting pressure on you to make a decision quickly, that could be a red flag, and that's a good time to pause.
And this isn't, just to make clear, this is not some idiot sitting in his underpants in his mum's spare bedroom, sending the occasional thing. These are huge office suites full of hundreds of people, and they work on the basis that if you throw enough mud at the wall, some of it will stick. So they send out tens of thousands of these scams. It's not like they're picking on you. And they will find out of those tens or indeed hundreds of thousands somebody who will fall for it. And understandably true. I mean, I got that one. It said, "Hi, Dad, change my number." And I'm thinking, no. I don't know why bells rang. I don't know why.
Well, I asked the scammer what my name was, because presumably you'd know your own mother's name. And they said Neil. I said, well, that's a strange name for your mother, don't you think?
Are we making a mistake by engaging? Because I just went scam and told them to blank off. But are we making a mistake like Neil engaged, I engaged?
I think as long as you know what you're dealing with there, then I think that's okay. The message we'd really want to just get out is anyone if there's anything that you're slightly worried about, then stop, pause, find a different way to contact those people. And as you said, so many of these are being put out. It's
Nationwide have a very good thing. The Building Society. They have a thing called Take 5, and it sounds like advice your grandma will give you, but it's actually really sound advice. And it's sit down, stop and think, and have a cup of tea, and just think about it. Are there any red flags here? You know, why am I being asked for this information? You know, that sort of thing. Just stop and think about it, because scammers operate in that discombobulating you. Quick, I've got to do something. Oh God, my money's in danger. Quick, and panic you. That's the kind of mindset they operate in. It's my real pet hate. I really get angry when I hear stories about people being scammed.
Oh, I loathe them. I absolutely.
That is really bugs me.
It is disgusting. And you know, we talk about it, and it's almost like people make light of it, but they cause such misery, such misery.
Yeah, absolutely. They can, you know, really hit people financially, but I think there's also the emotional side of it.
Yes,
it can make people feel very unsettled, and particularly if it was someone who was, you know, using the internet for XYZ quite confidently beforehand, that then if they feel less certain doing that, that can start to make your life really difficult. I mean, we know from speaking to older Londoners who don't use the internet at all.
And this is the mental
there's a
health
whole load of
angle.
barriers to accessing the world. It is
absolutely, and this is the mental health angle, because the internet can open up a world for people, and be absolutely brilliant. Like you say, there's been this, like you said, the research has been done that it's beneficial and it improves quality of life, and that can be a real setback, and that can affect people mentally. So I'm glad we're having this conversation.
I thought it was very apposite. Now, Abigail, one of the things is that with most things in life, unless you're controlling a rocket ship coming into Earth reorbit, it can wait.
Exactly.
Most things can just wait. And if you're worried, Neil just highlighted the campaign Take 5, and I just think, well, sod it. You know, if it's urgent and if it's for real, they'll come back to me. Yeah. And if it's not, they won't. And that's usually, that's my way of dealing with most things. I'm not meaning I'm prevaricating. It means that if it's really urgent, you will get hold of me another way. And that's, I think, one of the guides. But it's very difficult if you're not internet. I don't even like the phrase internet savvy. All of us use it all the time, every day. But if you don't, and you're coming into it perhaps late in life, I can understand you. Neil's used the lovely phrase discombobulated. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. You know,
very much so.
Do you suggest blocking systems, Abigail, to the people that you sort of look after? You know, like on my phone, I can block spam calls, which is great. Do you suggest
that's something that people might want to do? I mean, that the scams are pretty good at rolling through the numbers that they use, so that might not necessarily completely solve the problem, but it's definitely one thing that you can think about doing.
They do, don't they? Because it's just it is very, very, very sophisticated.
Yeah. Like you said, it's whole enormous setups. It's not one person trying to catch people out.
It's huge. It's like the cyber attacks on the UK.
They're criminal gangs, basically.
Oh, they are. I love that guy. I don't know if you've seen him. I know Neil and I both love this guy. The guy with the blue hair. Love that guy on YouTube. Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah,
he takes it to a whole new level of.
Have you seen this, Abigail?
I haven't. No.
Oh, you should. No.
It's absolutely. I mean, with the one that I owned, it's fun. I say calm as a bitch, excuse my language. But this one, like Russ says, it's whole new level. He's got this voice distorter, which makes him sound like a frail old lady.
Hello, I'm sorry. Did you say your name was Neil? I don't know which button.
Exactly, and he just keeps them going and going and going. All the time, he's hacking into their computer and deleting their files.
Genius. It's genius. And other times he's got the police there, and the police have raided, and they're arresting like 20 people at a time. And these offices are open 24/7. They do it in shifts. And when you see them working, I don't know about you, Neil, Abigail, do check it out, because it'll make your blood boil when you see these creeps who are preying, and the aggression they have. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, they get angry with you, even though they're trying to steal money from you. Very, very weird mindset.
It's quite
so, but on the positive side, taking scammers out of it for a little bit, you're saying the internet has a beneficial thing, and it's something that your research endorses, and something you're here to encourage.
So
all safety concerns notwithstanding.
Absolutely. I mean, Age UK London's position is we want older people who would like to use the internet to be able to do so. And to do that, really, you have to have the skills. and local AGKs can help with that. You need to be able to access, you need a device, you need access to broadband. So we've been doing some work campaigning around that. We actually found out was last year that I think you might know that internet providers, a lot of them have something called a social tariff. So it's their most affordable deal.
Nope,
It's usually
don't know that.
targeted specifically at those on very low incomes. But
Okay.
we found that quite a lot of internet companies, they were offering it for people who received universal credit. That was how they decided if you were on a low income or not. But you stop being eligible for universal credit when you're 67. So they were offering their most affordable deals only to people under the age of 67. So we were saying, well, that's just not right. And we don't think it was done intentionally at all.
Oh, Abigail, you're far too kind. You're far too kind.
Whatever the reason, we've been glad to see a few of them have already changed their position, and we absolutely want all internet companies to make sure that they offer their most affordable deal to
By the way,
all ages.
Abigail, let me ask you this. With these internet and phone companies and mobile phone companies, all these people, when you say, oh, I'm leaving, I'm going now, and they go, oh, hang on, why are you leaving? Why are you too expensive? Oh, hang on, I think we've got a deal. No, I don't like that deal. You can barter them down. I mean, it's hilarious and disgraceful simultaneously because they could offer you that deal in the first place. Of course they could, but they won't. And you really have to be hardcore. It's not their money. They don't care. Let's be honest. They're an employee.
And especially with the cost of living hitting, we really need.
Nice. Bravo Age UK for their latest TV advertising campaign highlighting elderly loneliness and mental health. Yes, well done, you guys. A beautifully crafted and emotionally charged campaign and a great example of how tech can help.
Absolutely.
Thank you, salad dodging Scotty.
I would not be without technology and what it can open up to people. A friend of mine, Abigail, was doing some work in a care home and using virtual reality headsets to literally take people back to places of their childhood. And there's been some science and studies on this sort of stuff. And the difference it makes is phenomenal. And I do mean phenomenal. People that were really unwell, their health improved, their sharpness improved, all the vital signs that people measure for improved, their pain levels went down. It's quite extraordinary. So I wouldn't be without tech. It's just this other side of it that we want to give people fair warning against.
Yeah, the upside of it can be brilliant. For example, throughout
massive. Used properly, it's an absolute blessing. Absolutely.
Yeah, local AGKs across London, they did brilliant work getting devices out to old Londoners, kind of charged up with dongles so that they would be able to use the internet, pull together brilliant resources showing them how to do it. Because it's quite tricky sometimes to show someone who hasn't used, for example, a tablet before, to do that remotely while we were in the beginning of lockdown, in the middle of lockdown. I also remember talking to, it was AGK Lewisham and Southwark, and they moved some of their day centre provision online. So in the pandemic, they were still able to engage with people. And then they said since sometimes someone isn't able to come to the day centre for a while, perhaps they've had surgery, they're not able to make it in. And they were telling me the difference in the physical health and well-being of the people who were able to continue joining their activities online while they were recuperating at home when they came back to the day centre in person was really shocking. They were stronger, they were better physically in themselves because they've been able to have that contact while they've been away from the service.
It really is. It's like night and day. This study, they took a bunch of octogenarians and recreated the environment of what it would be like 50 years ago. So it was a fully immersive, and they had movies of the time and newspaper headlines of the time and music of the time, and literally created this whole, and people's minds and bodies responded as if it was real. It was absolutely powerful, mind-blowing. So
while we've got you on, and I know you got to go in a moment, but I support Age UK. I think they're great, and I think the work that you do is great, and I think it's very important because I honestly believe, and I'd like your take on this, Abigail, your CEO, that we live in what I call Logan's Run. That society would really like us all to die at 35. They'd like to clear us out like the movie Logan's Run. And we're just a pain in the ass. And they really don't want us. They don't want to pay our pensions. We're just in the way. And it's a financial thing. One is a financial thing. Two is a social thing. The total worship of youth, which is just a nonsense. Do you think that your work can try and combat some of that?
Yeah, so I think Age UK, the national charity, so my colleagues who work there, I think do brilliant work. For example, persuading the government to think more about the needs of older people in the decisions that they take, trying more generally to tackle the way that ageism, as you say, is really entrenched in our society and in the way that people think about it. So Age UK, the national charity, do brilliant work on it. We're trying to do our bit on it at a London level at Age UK London. It's a big, really embedded problem, but I do.
Would you agree with this, that we live in a bit of a youth-obsessed society? That some people say, "I feel invisible over a certain age."
Yes,
particularly women.
I am invisible.
But the people who would come under your remit of Age UK presumably have so much more to offer. They've got a lifetime of wisdom, a lifetime of experiences. Surely it's the time we need them in the workplace the most, and that's probably where they will want to be, rather than just being written off, right?
I think they've got so much to contribute. As you say, I think there's a lot who would like to be working or to be contributing in other way. I absolutely agree. There's a huge amount that they have to contribute that is, I think, sometimes overlooked.
Well, you only have to look at the lunacy that's happening with Bud Light. This isn't a huge diversion, Abigail. And the vice president of marketing, who I wouldn't let go out and buy me the Evening Standard because she'd come back with a donkey or something. She looks about 12. She's clearly a complete buffoon when it comes to her trade. Anybody with experience would have said, "You're making the world." I mean, they have tanked an entire company within a week after about 100 years of trading. I have no sympathy for them whatsoever, frankly. They can go bust for all I care. Somebody with experience would not do that. I think they're just thrown on the pile. Like, "Oh, what, you're over 40? Bye-bye."
Yeah, I think there's an awful lot more that we could do to learn from and to benefit from the experience, the wisdom, and the different perspectives. As I was saying before, it's not like there's one perspective, the older person's perspective or the older Londoner's perspective. There's thousands, millions of different views and experiences that, I think society.
I have a friend who is 79, relatively new friend, and he's so interesting to talk to. The stories he's got. And he's absolutely mentally astute and physically fantastic. And he has so much to offer. So much to offer.
Yeah, but even saying that, I know you're being really positive, Neil, but even saying that, it just sounds, I don't mean you are, it sounds slightly patronizing.
Yeah, it does.
He's 79 and he's still got all his own teeth. This is just crap.
Yeah, I don't mean it that way.
Change. I know you don't. I know you. I've known you for decades, and of course you don't. But we have to change the narrative. And speaking of changing the narrative, anything at Men's Radio that we can do, Abigail Woods, CEO of Age UK London, that we can do, you know how to reach out to us now. Just reach out. We're happy to support you with any of your campaigns. If you want to come back anytime, you'd be very, very welcome. It's something that we passionately believe in. Our demographic all over the world, this is listened and viewed all over the world. And our demographic, probably 40 plus, because they have the time and the care to want to get involved with mental health and well-being.
Wonderful.
Anyway, Abigail,
thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Lovely to meet you, Abigail.
Yeah, good to meet you.
Good luck with everything you do.
Very much. I'll definitely.
Bye-bye. How charming. Charming. You know what it is? This is what we got with Ramsey here. It says, "I work in technology, and I know that many find the pervasive and increasing reliance on computers to be stressful." Yeah, bloody is. "And contributing to their mental health." It drives me mad, actually. "Not everyone appreciates the benefits of doing everything on a smartphone." Nope. Look at the high street. See all the businesses that are closing. Well, they're closing the banks, Ramsey, because they want to fire the staff and they don't want to deal with human beings. I mean, let's break it down. They don't want to deal with people. They don't. It's much easier. It's much neater. And it's also about control. It's all about control. Fat Scotty says, "Wonderful session, Abigail." I wish I knew your proper name. I don't like calling you Fat Scotty at all. "Wonderful session, Abigail. Keep up the amazing work, Age UK." Absolute. How many of you, before we bring on the fabulous Hatti Suvari, how many of you feel invisible? How many of you look back to when we were all younger, and you'd walk down the street and people would look and you'd look back at work. I mean, we just had a message from the fantastic Francois Pascal, one of the most beautiful actresses to ever have walked the earth. I mean, who wasn't in love with her in Mind Your Language? I mean, everyone was crazy. Time passes, we change. And suddenly, and my friend Larry Viner said this to me so many years ago. He said, Russ, we're just invisible now. And I think, screw that. You know, I hate that. Hate it. Right. This is, if you're wondering, by the way, why Neil is in this location, is because in the other location, which is more of a studio, the internet there for some reason just isn't great. So it's much better
I
for
get
Neil.
awfully pixelated. But the good news is our technical man is back.
I've already spoken to him in the car on the way back from the airport.
Ah.
I saw him and he looks, well, he hasn't grown. I'll be honest.
Well,
he hasn't grown. He was on a booster seat.
Australia doesn't do that to people.
I thought it made you grow. I thought it made you grow.
His liver might have swollen a bit.
Oh,
since
well, he looked okay, but I was hoping he'd have a bit of a tan. Time now for one of my favorite parts of the week. I'm so pleased that the great Chantal is he arrived? Is he there? Hang on, Chantal. Hang on.
Hello.
Welcome
You
back,
look
buddy.
paler than when you left. How could
Yeah,
that
I'm back.
be? You've been in Australia for months. You look paler.
No, it's
How
the
can
light.
that? How?
It's the light.
Only you. I thought you'd come back looking all, you know,
He does
did you
look
dude?
tan.
Oh, man, well, lovely to see you, Ken. Ken is so supportive and does so much behind the scenes, and we don't always bang on about it. Ken, welcome back from Oz. You probably need a sleep.
buddy.
You've been in a
Thank you,
plane.
Russ.
You've been in a plane.
I'll
For,
let you get on with the show.
what show's that? Oh, okay. Right. Okie dokie. Ladies and gentlemen, Hatti Suvari.
Hey, good
Hey.
afternoon.
Hattie, would you like your jingle?
I've got to tell you, Neil, our jingle is
our
getting
jingle.
thousands
Our
of
jingle now.
TikTok views on my account on TikTok. Just to let you know, people.
Well, I've got
are
another one for you.
loving
You
it.
ready? She's bright,
Always.
she's breezy, she makes the law easy, she's chatty, she's sassy. Please welcome Hattie. There you go. That's for you.
Do you know?
You can have that one as well.
Thank you very much indeed.
I overthink things. I realise, Hattie, I overthink things, don't I? I should be like Neil.
Yeah, well, it's a
Completely
good way
bloody
to be
ridiculous.
happy
Oh, I
and
can be the
chirpy.
king of overthinking.
Oh, what? I'm the king of. Who was that?
Eckhart
That was
Tolle.
Go West. It was the king of wishful thinking from Pretty Woman.
Wishful thinking.
That'd be a good spoof, actually. The king of overthinking. You're just giving me an idea for a parody song.
Okay.
Eckhart Tolle, who is somebody that I'm listening to lots of podcasts of and reading lots, says that thinking is one of the worst diseases we have as humankind.
Well, thinking.
Yes, compulsive thinking.
I think thinking in the proper perspective, it's like we've made it the be all and end all. It's a good servant but a terrible master, but we've made it the master, and therefore cutting off an awful lot of other possibility by overusing the mind or using the mind in the wrong way. In my opinion,
I
Yeah.
agree. I totally agree.
Eckhart Tolle, yeah, cool dude.
Yeah.
He's brilliant. His
It
podcasts are
it
brilliant.
is fascinating, isn't it, gang, that whatever we touch on eventually circles back to mental health. It really doesn't matter what it is.
Always.
There we had age. If you think about it, we've had Age UK, and she was delightful, by the way. I thought Abigail was just delightful. I think she's been on the show. I can't my head. God, I don't know what I had for breakfast. And it wasn't just the scams, which are a pain in the arse, and I just put them against the wall and shoot them, frankly, as far as I couldn't give them monkeys, because they're disgusting, they're pond life. But it's the mental stress they give people who are easy, vulnerable targets. And then we're just chit-chatting here, and we're thinking about overthinking and how overthinking stresses you out because you go through every permutation, 98% of which ain't going to happen.
Statistically,
Not
90%
gonna
of what
happen.
we worry about doesn't actually materialise.
97%, I read actually, even
Oh,
more.
it's gone up. Doesn't
But it-
surprise me
but it's
because we've got a
the-
lot
it's-
on our minds, I guess.
It is, and also, Hattie, it's that 3:00 in the morning. You know, everything you've ever done wrong comes back to bite you, and it shouldn't because it's in the past. You can't undo it. I'm the worst culprit. I'm putting
Well,
my
one of
hands
the
up.
best metaphors that somebody gave me for worrying about what has happened that we can't change is it's like driving a car. If you're always looking in the rear view mirror, you will not see what's in front of you, where you're going, the doors opening, the
Yeah.
next day, and everything else. So
Yeah.
don't look back on the past because you can't change that, and that won't make you happier, or and it shouldn't make you sad. You should look at the now, the here. Yes. Very philosophical start to the show today.
But it's true. I just somebody sent me a podcast I recorded with them several weeks ago about radio. And of course, all they wanted to talk about was the flying eye. All I wanted to talk about was men's radio station. But they wanted to, so it's an hour thing, right? And just to round this part of it off, what I said was I loved it. I hugely enjoyed 20 years at Capital Radio. Absolutely adored it.
I used to listen to you. I was in my teens.
Yeah, shut up. Shut up, you.
But I did. It used to be my morning radio.
Oh,
I used to listen to you all the
Did
time,
you listen
every
to
day.
me on the overnight show?
At least you didn't
Oh, I
say
was in
I
bed
was
by
on my
then,
way
Neil.
to Normally, I look at somebody and they go, I was on my way to school. I used to listen to you. I just want to blow my brains out. Anyway,
Hold on. But why do you say that about that?
Why? Because if I'm
you
looking
know-
at someone, I'm not talking about you, but I'm looking at someone who I assume to be middle-aged, and they go, I was on my way to school listening to you. I go, Jesus, how old am I?
It doesn't matter how old you are. You've just had age you cared. There's nothing wrong.
You think
with
that's
being...
bad?
Well,
Right?
it's a thing with
radio
me, Hattie. It's a thing with me, okay?
But it doesn't need to be a thing at all.
I got into radio
At all.
to meet people, meet the ladies. Now what do I get? Oh, my grandma listens to you.
Yeah, but hold on.
It's not funny, Russ.
Guys, honestly, I have to say,
It's not funny.
You need to get out of that mentality that if people are younger or were listening to you when they were teenagers or whatever it was, or their grandmothers used to, it's okay. That's a good thing. I think it's great.
It's but Hattie. All right. We're going to have a little diversion.
Are we going to get onto romance?
We will in a
Singles,
minute.
be
Well,
aware,
darling,
don't
let's have
be
a cup of
victim,
coffee first. Easy, Tiger. I don't blame you. I'm an
Honestly,
attractive
I think
man,
you've
but
really
take it
got
easy.
to. If someone says, "I used to listen to you when I was young," right? I think that's a huge compliment. I really do.
And actually, if they're looking at you and saying that, Russ, they're anchoring back into when they felt young and what we were talking about before.
That's
actually
true.
really good for their mind and body and mental health. So
Absolutely.
you're actually influencing mental health just by being
I tell
yourself.
you, and I'm not just saying this because we're on radio.
Yep.
When I used to listen to Capital Radio and used to come on and Chris Tarrant was doing his thing, I used to feel positive, bouncy, happy. It used to give me that positive feel.
Yeah.
And I used to listen to it in the morning when as I was getting ready for school. I used to blast the volume up. That's great.
Here's the thing. I'll tell you why. I'm going to be very honest with you. Because there's so much I want to do with this radio station and with women.
Right.
There's so much I want to do. There's so much I want to do with my novels. And I can't bear that I can see the finishing line. Now you're way younger.
No.
Don't.
You've made the finishing line. No, hold on.
But it's no good saying no.
Hold on. Well, let me just add to that. Nobody knows when they are going to die.
That is true.
Stop.
That is true.
I've had friends die in their teens, 20s, 30s, 40s. Right. So you don't know where the finishing line is.
Well,
you can't say I can see it, because if you feel like you're running out of time, you're never going to do the things that you want to do every day. You're going to feel this kind of urgency, and you're going to put the pressure on yourself that you don't need to put.
Well, of course, because we've got...
Because you don't know where the finishing line is.
Well, I'm using logic for where it might be. I'm using... Worry pretends to be necessary,
Neil,
but serves no useful purpose.
That is one of his best lines, and I think I picked that up in his book, A New Earth. It's a podcast, A New Earth, not the book. And the
Look
book.
at that.
And
Radio generates a buzz and positivity like no other medium.
Yes.
Absolutely right. But it was the jocks that made it. Totally so. Men's radio station
I
is creating a
agree.
new buzz.
I agree.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
I would tune in
There you
because
go.
Chris Tarrant or
That's very
Pat Sharp
kind.
or my radio heroes were on, which is what made me, Mick Brown, Neil Fox, that made me want to get into radio.
There you go.
which was brilliant. And I've never seen the Chris Tarrant breakfast show beaten, apart from mine. But apart from that, I've never ever seen it beaten in all the breakfast shows. Not one.
It never has been.
It was so real. It was so authentic and real.
You've used the word, and I was talking about it in this podcast, which will go public. I think it's going public on Thursday. It's an interesting interview because I was really, really honest about my views on stuff like that. And I said, what happened was, it was real. When the mics came off, we were the same people, but you could go to other radio stations. And I'm not saying this to knock but it's just a fact. And Neil will back me up. The mics came off. They were totally different people. They were not nice. I mean, some of them were nice and some of them were absolute monsters.
Well, I stopped listening to radio because I just felt two things. One, it was either let's talk about the whole misery of what's going on all the time and nothing else.
Radio 4. Yeah.
Advertising just became more than I could hear music or people actually being positive on there. And then the people that were making it was just like, hey, hi. And it was all very much like that rather than, a little bit of authenticity, as you said, Neil.
Well,
and that's why I fell out of love with listening to radio for those reasons.
Neil, we were the last. All right, I'll be very, very quick because we want to get onto your subject. But let me explain this why. If you got to Capital, you were at the height of your skill. Now, I got in by luck, but you had to have been elsewhere and you had to be the best of the best. That was a fact. And then eventually it became about money. So instead of paying somebody 600,000 a year, 500,000 a year, 1.3 million a year, you're paying them 25 quid a show, plus they pay their own expenses. To your bottom line, that's fantastic. Shareholders delighted. The output and the content, dreadful.
Yes.
Yes. That's how it works.
Actually, very interesting you say that. I read a post that my husband put out actually on LinkedIn today saying that a great leader is not somebody that just leads people, but takes care of people.
Well.
So more of that would be great.
The first fence there, we had great. You see why you loved it, and this is about mental health. And Neil will absolutely go with this. I know he will. About mental health, we had great leaders. We had the great Josephine Sandilands. We had the fantastic David Briggs. People not only were brilliant, and Joe Sandilands sadly died a few weeks ago, much too early, bloody cancer, but. Not only were they brilliant and we respected them, but we worked together in mutual respect. Does that make sense? We didn't do it because we were scared. Sense. We wanted to be the best we could be.
A great team.
Because they were fantastic.
To be a team.
Yeah. And then when you go corporate, I always say the phrase, you're a slave to the share price in the city who have as much imagination and creativity as my dog bowl next to me.
But men's radio is not like that. Men's radio does have the authenticity. It does have the team spirit and the feel to it. Where are you getting these amazing quotes from Eckhart Tolle, Neil?
He has them in his head. He's a genius.
Are you an Eckhart Tolle man? Do you like his stuff?
No, I'm quick on Google.
I love it.
I do like it. He's not my
10 out of 10 for being honest.
He's not my favourite, but I do like him.
Yeah, his stuff with Oprah is very good because they managed to bring it and deliver it in a very good way. But shall we get on to?
Yes, please.
Romance, fraud, singles, be aware, don't be a victim. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about this today is because criminals are turning to romance scams to capitalize on those looking for love. And this has soared, the numbers of this, what's going on, has soared by over 73%.
Wow.
Okay. And let me just put some figures into that. So put it into a little bit more perspective. So data from the Federal Trade Commission in the US, that in 2022 alone, people lost over £1.3 billion in romance fraud. This is big stuff, guys. In the UK, according to a British Building Society, I won't say who, losses to victims just in 2021, amounted to £91 million.
And just
Good
to put
God.
that in perspective
Wow.
for you, because people hear a billion, but just to give you an idea of how big that is, if I were to count to 1 million, one number per second, 1, 2, 3, that would take me 9 days to do. If I were to count to
There you
1
go.
billion, do you know how long it would take me?
I have no idea.
27 years.
Oh, I'm so close. Damn. What did you say?
Oh.
27?
And
I
while
went-
we're doing
I-
amazing
I said
stats,
37.
if I went to 1 trillion, it'd be 27,000 years. But
Well,
that's
you-
the difference between 1 million and 1 billion. It's big.
It's big. It's really, really big. But what do we mean by romance fraud? Because people think, what do you mean romance fraud?
Yeah.
It's when fraudsters pose as love interests to swindle unsuspecting victims out of piles of cash, or to gather as much information as possible from you to steal your identity. So that's what is meant by romance fraud. And it is massively on the rise. And it started really picking up wind during the pandemic because people were more online than ever before.
Sure.
And people were isolated more than they probably ever have been in their lifetime, unless it's chosen, electively, you don't want to go out and you want to be at home more. But factually, the majority of victims of dating scams, when the ones that do report it, believe that this could never happen to them. Oh, it never happened to me. That's the first thing they say when they report it. And it is a global issue. It's not just the US and the UK, the losses in pounds and pence. I reported on a case where a lady lost £300,000 of her money. She remortgaged her home. She cashed in her pension. She lost her savings to somebody she never actually met in person. But she fell in love with this person from a distance. And we're going to talk about where you stand in terms of getting money back.
Yeah, good call.
It's rife. I mean, romance scams are rife, and it's online and offline.
Can I just say, in
Yes.
fairness, my knee-jerk reaction was, how stupid. Let me get to the end of the sentence before you start throwing heavy things at me. How stupid must that person be to blow 300 grand on someone you've never met? But I am assuming they were so three-dimensional and utterly believable.
Yep.
Well, that's all I can think, because otherwise,
But it
prima
is, though,
facie,
Neil.
it looks like you're an idiot.
Well, that's why I said first up that the majority of victims, the first thing they say when they believed it is, when they realised, is, I can't believe this has happened to me.
Yeah, because they're not stupid people.
They're not stupid people.
No, they can't be. They got 300 grand. They can't be that stupid.
There are absolutely not stupid people. And as I said, it's both online and offline. And statistically, this is what the stats are saying. 1 in 7 dating profiles are probably fake. 1 in 7.
Jeez.
Okay. So dating scams, up to 30% of dating scams, not only do they try to get your money from you, not only do they this romance fraud and dating scams happen because they're trying to get your information so they can then pretend to be you, but they start using people as money mules, which is when the victim, unbeknown to them, is acting a middleman to receive and transfer money to fraudsters, and they don't even know about it. They're not even aware of it.
How would that in broad?
How can they not be aware of it? I've heard the term money mule before.
Right.
And in the context I heard it, it was young people generally saying, hey, listen, we just want to borrow your account. We're going to put 4 grand in it. You can keep 400. And then...
No.
But what would happen is they would then get flagged by the bank. The money would be frozen. And then that person has unknowingly got a drugs debt to people who might not be very nice about it.
Okay, so how they're using this in romance fraud is, first of all, obviously they gain the trust of the person and the love of the person, right? So they're emotionally, mentally suckered by this person. They believe they're in a relationship, a loving, caring relationship where they've got attention, where they've constantly got that person as part of their lives, even though they may not have never met them. And it doesn't mean you necessarily haven't met that person in order for there to be romance fraud. It goes on where they will meet you, they will wine you, they will dine you and do all sorts of things. And then they'll say, they'll pretend to be an entrepreneur. there will tend to be somebody who works for a company abroad, and they're very wealthy. They do give that kind of persona, because to take your money, they need to pretend that they've got lots of money, but they're in a desperate situation. There's
Yeah.
something tight happening. So they might say, do you know what? I'm buying a property in Spain. I've got to get money over to Spain. My account just doesn't allow it, or the charges are too high. Can I just put it in your account for you to transfer over? I'm buying something valuable somewhere. And that's how they use you as a money mule. But that money is not actually going to go and buy anything in Spain. It's being transferred to fraudsters.
And it's
in
illegal
Spain.
for us to
So-
do that, of course,
Of course
isn't
it
it?
is.
Even unknowingly. Even unknowingly.
Even, what did we say? Do you remember, Neil? Your ignorance to the law is not a defence. Bottom line,
I'm sorry,
underline, full stop.
can I wind back? I've got a bit lost, and it's probably just me. So the fraudster says, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter what the excuse is, but they're obviously very plausible. I need, let's just say, 10 grand because that will help me secure this property in Marbella. Is that it?
Mhm.
I can't do it.
As an
Can I put
example.
10 grand in your account, Neil, and you pay Hatti Suvari Limited Marbella? And I go, sounds okay to me. You say that. So I put my 10 grand into Neil's account.
Yep.
Neil then pays Hatti Suvari Properties Marbella Limited.
Yep.
Where, am I being really thick? One, why is it illegal? And two, where's the loss?
Right. So let's start with where's the loss.
Okay.
The loss is you're committing a crime, because you're transferring fraudulent money
Right.
from somebody to not Hatti Suvari Construction Limited. Is actually another fraudster that's going to take the money. They're using you as a mule.
So they're using you as a pipeline, but I haven't, just for my own clarity, I'm sorry if I'm being slow, everybody, but I haven't lost 10 grand because actually Neil's put in the 10.
This is part of romance fraud, where they're using you as a mule and not actually taking your money. Now, if this is that part of romance,
so you're basically money laundering.
You're money laundering for fraudsters. That's one reason why you can fall into romance fraud. If you're caught money laundering, knowingly or unknowingly, believe me, your bank accounts will be frozen so quickly you won't even be able to blink before it happens. And getting an account open somewhere else until you can untangle it, until you can prove your innocence, can take years. Years. It's that serious. I mean, interestingly, in Europe, apparently 63% of social media users looking to find love have been a victim at least once. 63%.
I have to just ask this very quickly once. If someone blatantly lies to someone and completely innocently and ignorantly they end up money muling, are they still going to be in trouble with the law, even if they've been deceived?
That's for the authorities to decide, Neil, because, as I said, ignorance is no defence.
I hear you, but it just seems very unfair.
However, it's unlikely, I would say, that the authorities will actually prosecute you, because if you can prove you were used, if you can prove you were not actually the person involved in the scam and the fraud and everything else, then you're unlikely to be prosecuted. That's my view.
Yeah, that would sound about right.
So, okay, I mean, the most common, I mean, it just goes on. I mean, there's something called catfishing. I didn't even know what this term meant.
Oh yeah, catfishing, yeah.
When someone, takes on a fake persona. So over 25% of online dating services were catfished in a 12-month period, where there's 25% of people on there are just creating fake profiles to attract people. But the most common tactics used by fraudsters, and this is what I'm trying to do, just bring people, a little bit of information and something to think about, is obviously their dating apps. So fraudsters are using dating apps to sucker in their victims. And apparently the top 3 apps that are being used are Plenty of Fish, Google Hangouts, and Tinder. Top 3 apps used by fraudsters trying to attract people into, romance fraud, either to take their money, to take their identity, or to use them as a mule.
I'd never thought about taking their identity or the muling aspect. I knew
No,
about
nor
the
me.
taking the money aspect.
Nor me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
But
you've
this
really,
is why it's soaring, Neil, because it's not just I'm going to fool you into giving me $5,000 or 500 grand or whatever, because there's big money involved here for people because they're going after mature people. They're pretending to be whoever they are to attract, people who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, because they're the people that have got more time. That it's a fact than a teens or a 20-year-old who's out all the time or got their friends groups or whatever, or don't have much money to their name anyway at that age.
And at the other end of the scale, Hattie, of course, where catfishing is disgusting is where they're grooming.
Yeah.
Where
Oh God.
an adult man is pretending to be a 12-year-old girl and spends months grooming another
let me
little
throw
girl.
this at
I mean,
you.
it's just repulsive.
I read an
Shoot them.
article, and I actually couldn't finish reading it because I thought, no, I'm not having any of this, where a person who was pretending to be a child to lure in a child for child abuse said, well, I identify as a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
really.
I identify as a guy with a gun.
And I said,
that's where you're
I
going.
can't read the rest of that. And
No, it's
and that
disgusting.
probably is another show for
It's
another
disgusting.
time.
It's disgusting and it's repulsive. And this, Hattie, I'm really sorry. I mean, it's just like a red rag to a bull.
No, I was on a dating
This is where
site
we're
once,
heading. This is
and I
where
don't know how
we're
many
heading.
people were trying to scam me, but the only contacts I got were, how can I say this nicely, professionals looking for business, shall we say.
Oh.
I mean, I asked for a picture and I got a
Any
price
good?
list. I'm not joking.
Any good?
I didn't sample the wares. Thank you very much.
Well,
Right, there you
what
go.
good
You
are
got your answer, Neil.
You're a lousy consumer expert.
The top methods used by scammers to take money from their victims include cryptocurrency is the most used method, because if they get you to buy cryptocurrency and send it to them, it's almost untraceable. Bank transfers, very, very common. Gift cards.
Sorry.
Payment apps.
Hang on, slow down. Bank transfers?
Gift cards.
Oh, gift
So they'll
cards.
say, send me a gift card.
Yeah.
Online, you can buy gift cards online. You don't even need the physical
Yeah.
versions of these things anymore. Payment apps or services. So you've got PayPal, you've got Payoneer, and different apps and things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the stories, I thought this was fascinating. The stories that scammers used to get their victims to start parting with their cash once they've gained your trust. Okay, so gaining your trust could take days, weeks, months. They will nurture that relationship until they feel they've got you. Is I or someone close to me is sick, hurt, or in jail. I need money.
Yeah.
I can teach you how to invest. Let me invest for us. I actually had another case where a lady was scammed thinking she was buying a property with the person that was scamming her and that she thought she was dating. He actually even showed her joint bank accounts where she was transferring the money to. Of course, it was all fake. The bank statements were fake. There was no joint bank accounts. So she thought that she was transferring money to him for him to put a deposit for a property, and they were finally going to meet and live happily ever after.
Yeah, right. This is from Ramsey.
Yes.
Could you answer this one? Hattie, I have to read this out because of everyone listening on Deluxe Radio.
Yes.
Hattie, if the scammers have bled their victims dry, why would they want to adopt their persona? I don't get it, says Ramsey.
Right. So they don't necessarily want to take your details once they've taken all your money. They could be trying to take all your details and actually not take all your money. So once they've got your personal details, they can then pretend to be you, to take out loans, to borrow money, to buy things, to create fake bank accounts, to create fake credit cards. So what we're saying is romance fraud, the top 3 methods of it is 1, actually to get your money from you, or 2, to take your identity to be able to become you and then live a life as you and your name and your details, or 3, to use you as a money mule.
How
to transfer
can we
money.
protect ourselves? Very, very quickly. This is a good movie on Netflix. This is all about romance fraud, and it's a fantastic movie, and it's a fantastic cast. Ian McKellen.
That one. Yes, I love that one.
It's got a lovely twist at the end.
That down. There's also one called The Tinder Swindler, which is a true story.
Tinder Swindler.
Tinder Swindler,
I was angry.
Have you seen it?
days after that.
Oh,
days I was angry about that.
oh my God. I still see that picture where he kept sending himself in the ambulance with his bodyguard covered in blood and asking for the emergency money
Just
in the Tinder
unbelievable.
swindler.
Brutal.
Right, the law.
Psychopath.
The law. Okay. In the UK, it's very simple. Fraud by misrepresentation is a criminal offence, Section 2 of the Fraud Act 2006, for anybody that's interested. And the maximum sentence linked to romance, fraud and money laundering could be up to 14 years imprisonment. However, let's talk about what do you do? Okay, what do? You've been caught up in a romance fraud. You've sent money through your bank. You want to try and get the bank to say, we want to give your money back. It's quite simple. If you've knowingly sent the money, and this isn't going to be good news, I'm afraid, the banking world sees this as something called an authorised push payment. And it could be difficult to get your money from the bank.
Oh, dear.
So it's not going to be looking good at all. However, if you think you've been a victim, you need to report it to your bank immediately. You can also report it to Action Fraud, which is actionfraud.police.uk. I have a phone number if you guys want to put it up.
Oh, Neil Nimblefingers will get that done in a second.
And there are solicitors out there, guys, that are stating that they will act for you on a no-win, no-fee basis and try to get your money back if you've been caught up in romance fraud that you may wish to look up. I can't personally recommend anybody because I don't personally know any firms.
Is that right, Hatti, what I've put on the screen?
Actionfraud.police.uk, please.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. So 3 signs to look out for. Okay, if their profile looks too good to be true on a dating site, it probably is too good to be true. That's the first thing. The second thing, if they want to switch platforms quickly. So what fraudsters do, they meet you on these sort of predominant platforms, but they try to move you away from those platforms, from reputable sites, to start chatting by text, WhatsApp, email, or
That's
however
exactly
else.
what happened on the one I got the other day. It was a random text, and they said, "Can we meet on WhatsApp?" And if you want to see me do a little bit of karma, it's there to watch. Go on.
Well, this is it. And then if you've never met them in person, but they promise to meet up and cancel for any reason, they try to avoid camera contact. They say they could be living abroad as a soldier, a medic, as I said, entrepreneur, or somebody who's a high flying, somebody working in some company somewhere. They are alarm bells. But they can even use stolen passports and ID documents to try and prove to you, look, it's me, look at my passport, this is my passport photo, screenshot it and send it to you. I tell you, my key tip on this topic has to be, don't feel ashamed or embarrassed to report it.
Right.
I mean, surely the rule of thumb is, unless you know that person, and unless you're face to face with them, don't give them any money.
Neil, it doesn't work like that. This is why the US is up to their eyeballs in billions. We're heading to hundreds of millions in losses because people genuinely believe that what they're being faced with is a real romance. It's real. They're being told things they probably haven't heard for a very long time.
Yeah.
So in terms of emotion. It's
so
disgusting. Cruel. But that's fraud.
Bank robbers have more morality. I know this sounds weird, but when you think about it, people going in with balaclavas and sawn-off shotguns have more morality than these people.
It's awful. It's awful. They prey on vulnerable people.
It's vile.
They will romance somebody very, very quickly. And, online these days, as we are at the moment, is more acceptable than ever. So the job for them is easier.
And the pandemic propelled that, didn't it?
Absolutely. It's easier than ever. But be suspicious of any requests for money or gifts or money transferring, particularly.
If at all possible, and I know you say it doesn't work that way, but if we can get this in people's heads, I believe you, Hatti, but if at all possible, if you don't know the person personally, and if they're not standing in front of you, because it could be someone pretending to be someone, don't give them any money.
But I agree with that, Neil. But there's also those that actually will meet that person in person. They will coerce them. They will, look at what the Tinder swindler done. He spent a few weeks with that one, jumped onto the next person, spent a few, and that's a true story, spent a few weeks with the other person. So it doesn't necessarily mean always that if they haven't met you in person, that they are not necessarily a fraudster trying to just get your money.
Yeah.
It's but the one thing is that we're not putting into this equation is there is a lot of very, very, excuse me, lonely people, and this is manna for heaven for them, and they want to believe it. And that's
if you would like to see a little bit of karma and have a good laugh at a scammer's expense for a change, just go to my Facebook wall, Neil Long 1078, facebook.com Neil Long 1078. And you will see what happened when a scammer tried to scam me, and it's quite funny.
Hattie,
I'm going to have to watch that.
We all will. Hattie, thank you so much. What a fascinating! You bring up the most fantastic subjects. Really appreciate it. Neil, welcome. Ken back, and probably with an entire wine tasting, knowing you guys. Until Friday, take care, everyone. Bye now.